Joe, do you want to do roll?
Sure. McKellar, not present. Slipey, not present. Toft,
Present.
Arnie,
Present?
Trottier,
Present.
Williams,
Present.
Bearden.
Present.
All right. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Approval of the agenda and the amendment.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Do we have a 2nd?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. And it's open forum. So it's time for members of the public to come forward, and it's open forum, so if you'd like to come forward, state your name and address at the podium. Anybody? No? Okay, then we're closing open forum. And approval of the minutes for September and November. Should we do those together or separately, or does anybody have any changes to any of them? Okay. All right, let's do them together then.
Yeah.
I make a motion to accept approve the minutes from both the September 12th and the November 14th Park and Recreation Committee minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? New business. We're roaring straight ahead here. And do you want to take it, Bill?
Sure. We're lucky to have Eric Peterson tonight here to give us, impart his expertise on pickleball, and he'll answer any of our questions when he's done. Eric, the floor is yours.
Do you want me anywhere?
Right up at the podium there with the mic.
Podium?
Yes.
All right. I came here not really knowing what you wanted. I assume it's a little bit of a discovery process. And Dick Burns, Dick has been kind of liaison to set this up. What he told me is that you're very forward focused. You understand what's going on with pickleball, that it's a wonderful asset for a community. And I've been around pickleball since, going on 8 years now. And I'm kind of an example of a gateway, at least for older people that are coming into the sport. I played tennis all my life, and turned 65. I was playing on a private tennis court, hit a slippery spot, went up, came down my left shoulder, and had very traumatic damage and had to have a lot of surgery done. Went back to rehab therapy, then I started working out, and I walked into the health club, and a guy looked at my racquetball bag, which I understand you've done, Bill. Played racquetball, and he said, "Do you play pickleball?" And I go, "Heck no, that's for old people." And he goes, "You are one?" And I go, "Okay, you're right." And I stepped on the court, and immediately I loved the game, but I was still focused on tennis. I went back to tennis in the summer, and halfway through the summer, I could not lift my right arm over my shoulder for serving. No pain, it just wouldn't go up. So I tore all the tendons in my right shoulder, went through that surgery, and decided I am not going to pick up a tennis racket again. And then I got very heavily involved in pickleball. And the reason why I'm here is I got into pickleball, and I kind of dove into it to try and figure out, what are the qualities? What makes it so unique? Why is it the fastest growing sport in the United States? And I eventually, after a couple of years, I became a pickleball ambassador for USA Pickleball with the goal of being able to teach, bring people into it, as well as maybe have a little bit of clout with some of the area cities to have pickleball courts built or possibly tennis courts repurposed. And having a tennis background, I love tennis. This is not a one versus the other. This is what best serves the community. And tennis has gone backwards. It's going backwards about 10% a year. I don't know why. There's no explanation that I have, but the fact is there's a lot of unused tennis courts, and that's not good for the community. And so I became a USA Pickleball ambassador. I don't know how much you know about it. You know, it's very intriguing. I can give you just a little bit. I don't want to bore you tonight. You know, my goal is to be done speaking before you're done listening. That seems to work out best. But it's a very intriguing sport. It's 1/3 the size of a tennis court, and it originated right around 1965, quite by accident. A family, they were gathering at their lake home. Kids got bored. Parents said, go out and play badminton. They went out and they had somewhat of a formal badminton court on asphalt. They couldn't find the balls. They couldn't find the badminton rackets. And the kids started bugging the parents again, and they go, okay, let's go find some ping pong paddles. Let's find a wiffle balls. And they put the net up typical badminton height. After a while, they go, let's bring it down. And that's the origin, that's where it came from. And the old paddles were made on they just cut them on a buzzsaw or whatever, and that's how it started. And so it's grown a lot. But why has it grown a lot? Well, 1/3 the court, so it's not as hard on the body. When I played tennis, I would have roughly 12,000 steps in 2.5 hours. I would be done, and my wife would have to take a crane to get me up off the couch and do anything after playing tennis for a couple hours. And I play pickleball now. I played 5 hours yesterday, and raring to go. The only reason why I left is I had to go home and have dinner with my wife, but it's a totally different game. I've had 14 different surgeries, and my wife has had a hip replaced, 2 knees replaced. She's got permanent damage to one of her muscles because she waited too long for a hip replacement. And it's the one sport that she can play, and she can play with gusto. And she's a little older than I am. Don't tell her that. Don't tell I said that. But the fact is she is very athletic. She was a Phi Ed teacher, girls track coach, girls swimming coach, girls gymnastics coach. And this killed her. The surgeries, the bad muscle, not being able to virtually do anything competitive. You know what? She's competitive on a pickleball court. Because for whatever reason, it seems to be a very level playing field that allows you to maybe have more finesse in one area. It's not uncommon for a couple of young kids to show up and look at us lip under the court, have our braces, and an hour and a half later they go, I can't believe it, you beat the crap out of us. Mm-hmm. And it is very unique. So that's a little bit on that. Why? Why is it so crazy? Why is it growing? Quick learning curve. If you play tennis, the tennis ball and the tennis racket are not user-friendly. Long extension of your arm, the ball goes a lot faster, a much bigger court. I do a lot of intro classes for individuals, anywhere from 10 years old up to 80-year-old. And I can get 20 people together, and in 15, 20 minutes, they are having a competitive game. They are hooping and hollering, and they just want to know, where has this game been? I do teach them how to not hurt themselves, because there's a lot of people that have not done much athletically in 40 or 30 years of their life, and now they're engaged in pickleball, and they have to relearn steps, footwork, and that type of thing. But that comes with anything with activity. Longevity, they're saying that people that play racket sports, whether it's pickleball, tennis, racquetball, their longevity is 5 to 6 to 7 years. Now they may end up with more broken bones, just simply because they're doing something they haven't been instructed on the proper way. But I would rather be a live lion, a live dog than a dead lion. I want to do something. I want to move on. Second thing is a crossover appeal to ages, common for 3 generations to play. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time with Baxter helping get the 2 courts, dedicated courts, and then we repurposed a tennis court so it was dual purpose. You can still play tennis on it, but we've got pickleball lines. And, in the movie Field of Dreams, they say if you build it, they will come. Well, the fact is there's more demand than there is playing area. And as soon as those courts were built, You could go there in the morning. They were played on 5-6 days a week, generally by the older people that had jobs that were maybe, or didn't have jobs but were retired. And then you would go there in the evening, and there would be 3 generations playing pickleball. Every court was used up. I bought 2 extra pickleball nets just to put on the dual-purpose courts, and it wasn't uncommon for a family to come there with a 2-year-old and 3-year-old on a blanket, coloring, doing whatever, and the 80-year-old, the 50-year-old, and the 12-year-old all playing the game and having a blast. I have not seen any sports like that they bring in the whole family. Smaller court, less wear and tear on the body. Accessibility, inclusive, enjoyable for people of all ages, all skill levels. Even knee and hip replacement. I remember the first year I went down to Florida after playing pickleball, and I saw people lined up waiting to play, but there seemed to be something very common. They all had that scar on their knee. Knee replacement, knee replacement, knee replacement. And I was kind of curious because I was trying to dig deeper into this phenomenon of pickleball, and they go, can't play tennis anymore, I can't run anymore, but I can play this sport. And what it did is it replaced something that was missing. It was a void in their life. It's the only sport I know where you have organized drop-in play. You can be one individual, one paddle, and you can come in and you come into a group of people and you can immediately pick up a game. All the years that I played tennis, I had to find 3 people or 8 people or 10 people to bring them to the court and play. Pickleball is unique. It's got a unique culture. It's the only sport I know of that has drop-in play. So during the summers, you can go up to Cross Lake, you can go to Ironton, and they're outdoor courts, and between 8 and 12, you can go in there and play. You just put your paddle in, you rotate in. If they've got enough courts, they can divide it by level, so you're not being beat up by better players, and you feel good. You're having competitive play right away. And on top of that, there's so many apps. I was just down in Florida, Gaylord Palms down there in Orlando, and I go on an app and I can see all the pickleball courts right around that area. And I can see whether it's drop-in play, there's generally a contact number, and right away I can get into, I almost feel like I was a hockey parent again. You know, if you want to be immersed into a family and get to know people, have your kids play a hockey or get into pickleball. Right away you're going to find out that you can make friends right away. Social, I don't know of any sport that I have ever done that is more social than pickleball. It's the only sport where you can have good-natured trash talking and bantering. I don't know what it is. If you acted the way we act on a pickleball court, on a tennis court, there'd be problems. But it's just like mistakes are expected, and we can laugh at each other, and we can have some fun. So that's a little bit of the background. I want to tell you a little bit about the growth in the Lakes area, and out of state is going crazy. It is absolutely going crazy. Demand and supply is unbelievable. So Cross Lake, they put in 6 courts a few years ago, and they're now adding another 6 courts. They're going to add 4 more dedicated courts, and the nice basketball court they put in there, they're going to line that for pickleball, so it'll be combination basketball and pickleball, which means all you do is take in a rolling net or put in another net. So that's 12 courts. If you go there now during the summer, quite often you're going to see all 6 courts being used and another 30 people waiting to rotate in and play. Mission Park, not too far from here, they put in 2 beautiful courts, and they are used all the time. Plus they have a 3rd court that is not fenced in. It's got a temporary net. Pillages just put in 3 courts. For heaven's sakes, town of 500 people just put in 3 courts. Ironton Crosby, they put in 6 courts here 2 summers ago. Walker had 3 courts right near the lake. They just added another 6 courts. And it's my understanding, I have not confirmed this, but we had a meeting the other night with the Mayor Brainerd as well as the Director of Parks and Rec, and we were talking a little bit about Walker, and somebody mentioned, when they decided they wanted to build the new 6 courts, they raised the money in 30 days. So I want to find out how they did that, to be honest with you. But that's the beauty of it. I've been in connection, Perham just put in 8 courts, and I'm now connecting with the gentleman that did that. I'm looking for designs, I'm looking for wherever I can move into our area and benefit everybody. Detroit Lakes, town of 10,000. They started a lot like a lot of communities do. They had courts on the hockey rink, and then they put 6 dedicated courts down by Zorba's. And right away, those filled up. And so now they've got, I think, they built another 3 courts this summer, and then they've got more on the way. Io, population of 800. They just put in 8 new courts. And I thought you'd want some of the data. Their cost was roughly $216,000. Their numbers are, they check the metrics, roughly 200 players, different players a week. It's not the same 20 people showing up 10 times. 200 different people. And that doesn't include the out-of-towners, the guests, the tourists, the seasonal people. They have a budget of about $5,000 a year to maintain the court and do the painting and do the striping. And the reason why I put that in there is that there's not too many family community activities that you can generate maintenance money from that activity. So Cross Lake is an example. I pay, I think, $75 a year. I play Crosby, I think I pay them $40 a year membership fee. Mission Park, I pay them a $60 membership fee. And some gives you perks like Cross Lake, Crosby Ironton. They have people that have paid the membership. They have prime time drop-in in the morning from 8 until noon. That means if you're a premier member, if you're a member, then you can come in there and rotate in on the drop-in. Do they welcome tourists? Do they welcome people coming through? Yes. There's not a policeman there, but what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to give, I guess you might say, a special privilege for those people that are willing to pay for the maintenance of the court. And then afternoon, anybody, everybody, it's a community court. They're all welcome, but anybody in the community, if they would like to come in at that specific time, they can do that. And I think it's very smart. I think it works out very well. The other part of this, the part of the culture, and Mission Park is the only outdoor facility that does this. They use a program called Court Reserve. So number one, I have to be I have to be a member. Number two, I can use my app and I can see if there's a court open, and I can reserve for an hour and a half. I can only reserve if all the people playing, I have to put every name on there that's going to be playing. They all have to be members, but it's the only place in this area that I can reserve a court to play outside. Everything else is either a drop-in or you hope you go to the court and there's going to be an open court. Does that make sense? Are you following me? Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to give you an idea of the culture and different things that you can do to monetize your court and take care of the maintenance and not have it be a budgeted overhead every year. Pretty hard to do that with disc golf and baseball fields and some of the other things. So people say, what is drop-in play? Well, it's a specific time. And everybody can come, whether 4 people come, 10 people come, 1 person, and they have paddle racks and you rotate in 4 players at a time. You play your game to 11, and then you rotate out. Whoever's up next on the rack, they come in there. Very smooth. Everybody understands this. There's no arguments whatsoever. If you have enough courts, when I go down to Florida, they've got 20 outdoor courts there. They designate 2 courts as challenge courts, and they're just saying you have to be a 4.0, which is a rating system, or better to do the challenge. They also take 6 courts, and they make that a mid-level beginning court type play, and then they have 4, 5, 6 advanced courts. But that all depends on what you have for an inventory or court space. There again, I'm just, maybe this is like drinking from a fire hose, but you're going to have enough to go on, maybe have enough to discuss. Membership option, I talked about that, primetime play. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I'm not going to go through the history. I gave you a little bit of my background. That's about all you can probably stand. There are estimated 48.3 million pickleball players in the United States, according to the Association of Pickleball Professionals. Pickleball participation has grown an average of 223% over the last 3 years. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America for the past 3 years. Bill had sent me a message on this. Players 18 to 34 make up the largest percentage of pickleball players nationwide. That's 30%, which goes against my saying that pickleball is for old people. You are seeing colleges, you are seeing high schools put together. It's not a, what would you call it? It's not a sanctioned sport at those levels, but some colleges have club hockey. And as an example, North Dakota State, they go out to Maine, they play hockey out there. It's club hockey, it's not the organized hockey. The same thing is going on with pickleball. And so it's not a fad, it's not going to die, it's going to grow. There are currently 13,969 pickleball courts in the United States, and there's roughly 60 a month that are being built. Now, when I say 60, one would be, as an example, Breezy Point. If you put in 2, 4, or 6, that's considered one court. So you probably get an idea that, and they're all crowded. Isn't that crazy? They're all crowded. They're not like an empty bowling alley or an empty tennis court. And the crazy thing is I've got individuals, in fact, I played with a group of very high-end tennis players, and the biggest challenge they're having right now is finding other tennis players to play tennis with. And many of them are crossing over to pickleball because they get the competitive juice, they like swinging or swatting at a ball, and all the way, I've got one 30-year-old that walked down, I played tennis with him years ago, and he came onto the pickleball court, and I said, well, you crossed over the dark side. And he goes, Eric, and he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 tennis players in the Brainerd area. He said, I can't find anybody to play pickleball with or play tennis with. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys I'm now playing with, Bruce Bolin, had played Division I tennis, coached tennis. I think this year he's going to let his coaching go. He's 65 years old, and he goes, I can't find anybody to play tennis. He retired this fall, and I'm guessing he's playing pickleball 4 to 6 hours a day. And like a lot, he goes, I don't know what I would do. And you know what the coolest thing is? His wife's coming with him. She's enjoying the sport. She is not, as acclimated and as him. And the other night, Bruce, my wife, and Bruce's wife, we played for a couple hours, and it's unique. I've seen individuals that have gone through depression, they've gone through cancer, they've gone through whatever, and they just had a hard time shaking that feeling. And the pickleball, the socialization, the competitive part of it, the desire to get better in some area of their life, it provided them the platform. Now, I'm not saying it's a cure-all, but I believe that if the more options you have, you can better somebody's life and add value to it. I mentioned an app. It's called Places to Play. So you can go onto that app and you can go to anywhere in the United States, anywhere. In fact, when I was down in Florida, I had a guy, he lives out in Seattle, Washington, and we're talking about pickleball and the socialization of it and how great it is, and he goes, well, I don't think we have any courts out in Seattle. And I opened up the app, and you can see the little emojis or icons, and I said, you have hundreds. You have hundreds. And I said, where do you live? And we expanded it, and I go right there within 2 miles of your house. There's 3 different courts. And you don't have that in other sports. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. And the last thing, I think, Bill, you mentioned, the noise. Okay. And it is a noisy sport. If you've never been around, I did this. It is noisier than tennis. It is noisier than tennis, so this is called an impulse sound because it's quick and it snaps. It's an impulse sound. Impulse sounds are not sounds, they're noise. Noise is not a positive. And I don't back away from it. I don't defend it. It's part of the sport. When I curled up in Bemidji, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with curling, but back 40 years ago when you curled, 45 years ago, you used a corn broom. And the corn broom was, I guess, like a witch's broom, would be the best way of describing it, with long strands of the strands. And it was a cacophony. When you walked into the curling club and you had 5, it was just whack, 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 noisy. But it was music to me. And the same thing on the pickleball court. Now, there are several companies coming out with what they call low noise paddles. They're trying to do what they can to change the sound of the ball. And so there has to be a little bit of foresight in putting courts in. You know, I think, Bill, I sent this to you, that they take the decibel level at 100 feet, 200 feet, 300, 400 feet, and they're going right around the 200-foot level is pretty much okay. And that's without any sound deadening, without any windscreens, without any greenery, that type of thing, and that all impacts the sound. So, yeah, is it an issue? Yeah, it is. It is. And as we're looking to expand courts in the Brainerd and Baxter area, then that's also a concern that we do talk about. Because the last thing I want to do, if somebody's got a $300,000, $500,000, $600,000 home and they want to go to bed at a decent time, and you know their time may be different than mine, we've got to keep that in mind. As you know, the older I get, I realize that I have to watch out for preferences. And my preference may not be the same color as somebody else's, and I have to keep that in mind. So anyhow, let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, so everything that I've talked about tonight, I've got in note forms. I can leave that with you if you want to. I think somebody said this was going to be recorded, and I'll open it up to questions if you have any questions.
First of all, just thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you coming. I have just a quick question about how much space is needed for each court.
Okay.
Or, if you're saying there's, they're building 2 or 3 or 6.
Well, just, Joe has already got what Cross Lake has used, and then we have it on this little, this is 4 courts right here.
Okay,
It's going to go on our little map.
All right.
So we're going
Yeah.
to move it around. So he did all that research. And
So I can't remember if it was Dick Burns or somebody, they did go out and get some estimates on, I think, 2 courts, 4 courts, and 6 courts. And I took the middle of the road, so I diagrammed what 4 courts would look like with the safety in mind, have enough room in mind. And then I did an overview of your area back here where you're going to put them. I think 4 courts would fit in there very nicely. 2 courts is 60 by 64. You can generally look at it as this way. 30 by 60 for a court. 30 by 60. 30 by 60. The court itself is 20 wide, 44 feet long. So it gives you room on the sides, and it gives you some room behind your baseline for serving or swinging. That would do it. If you go up to Walker, the first 3 they put in, don't ask me why, I haven't figured this out yet, but they wanted to save a little bit of money on fencing, so there's not enough room. So if you serve the ball, you bring your paddle back, you're hitting the fence. If you're going back for a lob, you're running into the fence. And it doesn't take long for a fence to get pushed back. And so, you know, that's, when I'm working with Brainerd right now, as I said, the mayor was there, and our goal is to take an area in Gregory Park that has 3 tennis courts, and it's an oversized area. It's a nice area, but the courts are in disarray, they're disrepair, they're an eyesore, and Brainerd recognizes that. And so we're going to repurpose those courts to 8 pickleball courts, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it with nice fence. In fact, we're going to make it the best of the best in the area. It's got lights on it, and it's a lot of green area. But we also, I said, okay, I'm going to tell you this. If we get some nice courts in there, it's not going to take long before you're going to need more courts. And if you really want to monetize it, it would be nice to have 12, 14 courts, do tournaments, and we can make some money for the city. And we can make some money for all the merchants in the area. Do you have room? And they go, oh yeah. Oh yeah, Gregory Park's big. And I go, where else can we build another 6 courts? And they go, well, how about Lum Park down by the lake? And so they've got a vision. In fact, they're for it. They go, we are way behind the time. And when we've got towns of 1,000 people that have got 6 courts, and we're kind of a money tourist town and we don't, then we need to do something. I'm also working with Baxter and trying to figure out where to put some more courts there, looking at noise, looking at, where maybe there's already water and sewer, and keeping it to at least more budgetable, more doable. So I hope, does that kind of answer your question? Okay.
So Eric, you said you had a cost for like 4 courts? Did you come up with a cost approximately?
Oh, yeah, it's in my phone.
Just a best guess.
Yeah, 4 courts. It depends on whether or not you use concrete or asphalt. The Cross Lake did asphalt. Cross Lake, their 6 courts. Now I'm going to give you a ballpark figure. And Crosby Ironton did exactly the same thing when they put in. They used the Cross Lake plan. Those courts right in the neighborhood of about 160 to 175,000. Isle last year put in their 8 courts, 218,000. We're looking at, so the repurposing of the courts in Brainerd, they had somebody come in, I think they really underbid it. They said that they could put 6 courts in there. There would be a lot of wasted space, which we don't want. And the 6 courts, fixing the cracks, putting all new paint down, bringing in nets, they looked at about $60,000. So over the last 2 months, we created a nonprofit, Lakes Area Pickleball Association. I'm on the board and I end up being the president. I think if we're going to do it right, then we're going to be looking at well over 100,000. And like a lot of communities, Brainerd said, we don't have money in the budget. We think we might have it budgeted by 2032. And I go, I do not want to have my 80th birthday party when you open up these pickleball courts. And, you know, the saying is you can get to a top of an oak tree 2 ways. Number one, you can plant an acorn and wait for it, or you can climb it. I said, we want to know how to climb it. And if you will give us a written memorandum that court is dedicated to us, then we'll go out and raise the money. And a lot of communities are doing that right now. That the city is saying, okay, this land is designated. Here's a written memorandum. It is designated, and get some bids, get a nice CAD drawing, something presentable so you can go to companies that will provide that kind of funding. And then also you can set up where your area players will donate 500 or 1,000 or 2,000. I know with Cross Lake, I donated money for those courts, and as well as Crosby. There's that kind of support. And as I mentioned, Walker, I think they got their money in a little over a month, which some people go, wow. And I go, doesn't surprise me. Go ahead.
Just back to your original, what do you think is the better long-term, asphalt or concrete?
Concrete's going to cost you 25% more. And it's going to last quite a bit longer. And just about everybody around here is doing asphalt. I think Pillager did concrete. Perham, I asked one of the guys that I play with over in Frazee, and I said, Perham did concrete.
So 50 Lakes, they put in 2, and now they need 2 more, and they did concrete, but they did theirs too small as well.
Yeah.
But they also, they got a huge grant. They're doing like sidewalks and all kinds of other things, and they got a grant for $250,000 almost with a grant writer, and then Sourcewell will also reimburse you for the grant writer.
Sourcewell has a lot more money to be spending too.
Yeah, they do. They just got a bunch of government contracts and
The Army and military contracts.
So between that and then the organization that you are president of now, that we could also,
well, I don't know
part
if
of
we're going
that,
to
or how
cross
does
over to that.
is that just going to be in Baxter?
Well, Baxter, Brainerd, East Gull Lake, but I help out. There's no secrets. Rising tide will raise all ships, and I'm excited that you do something here in this area. Number one, because I love the sport and I think it's beneficial to the community as well as merchants in town. The second thing is that the more courts we get built, even outside of Brainerd, then it takes a little bit of the pressure off of us. And it's not being selfish. It's just I want to help all the communities. But I've got to be somewhat specific when I'm working with merchants and people in our area. so they know where the money is being funneled. I also know that Dick Burns would be a big part in helping establish some kind of fundraising here. And as we're chatting about it, he said, Eric, when we've got the green light, he said, I have no problem going to the major merchants in the Breezy Point area and raising money there. Now in Detroit Lakes, they went so far as just putting that little number. They had 6 courts, putting that little number on. I believe they they got a donation of about $5,000. You know, if you got 6 courts, there's 30,000 right there. Yeah. And I don't know what your budget is. I think you've already got a little bit of money set aside here, and you put up 4 courts and you look at something like that. Now it's a reality. It's not a dream anymore. It's an actual reality. And then if you set it up the right way, then all your maintenance is going to be taken care of going forward. I think that's a really good investment. So.
Anybody else have questions?
Well, I just want to thank you too, and I would agree with you. My children are all in their 20s, and we play together as a family, and they play on their own with their friends, and it's so cool to see something that everybody enjoys across, generations. It's really neat. Yeah.
So some of the courts are next to tennis courts, and Renee and I, another couple, we will be playing them. And generally, we like to have 6. And we can rotate in and out, a little more bantering and trash talking going on. But it's so nice to see 3 cars drive up, and it's these kids that roll out. They're 16 to 25 years old. They've got their boom boxes, and they have pizza ordered while they're there playing pickleball. And they're not getting in trouble. They're not on their iPhones. They're not on, they're not playing Fortnite or some of the other games. And they're having an absolute riot. And they're courteous. I've learned to be able to stay focused in spite of their music. And some of it I even like. In fact, I made suggestions what they could put on. But and I think we need more of that. I think we need more of that cross grandma and grandpa with the 20-year-olds and talking about that. There's not enough of that goes on. So this is a lot more to me than just a sport, as tennis was a sport to me. To get out there and beat the crap out of the ball and,
Memorial Park in Brainerd, they have that big hockey rink, and they've put up pickleball nets right in the middle of it. And
that's a good point, because we talked about that with the mayor. So they did a beautiful construction there with the what do you call it, a water park, the hockey
Splash
rink,
pad, yep.
And then they did a circular ice rink, and they put in a couple basketball nets in there. And when they did the pickleball, first of all, and this is where it's important to have somebody that's got a little bit of a pickleball background involved in planning. They put all their courts in so they're east-west. You never, ever, ever, ever put any kind of a tennis court or outdoor pickleball court in east-west, because you're facing the sun in both directions. And they did it on cement, and the cement is extremely rough. So I can take a pickleball like this and play for about 20 minutes, and the next thing it looks like a tennis ball. Mm-hmm. It is so roughed up, it is so bad. And when word got out that they had 5 courts with temporary nets in there, and people went over and they call me up and they go, you know what, it's east-west, the surface is terrible, it's going to ruin our shoes, you don't want to fall on it because you're going to have a raspberry that's never going to go away. And I said, play on it. And they go, why? I said, because number one, they put it out there. And number two, if you ever want to get something of quality, then you've got to start somewhere. You've got to support them. You've got to, and oh, here we are. Now we're talking to the mayor and the director of Parks and Rec. They recognize that it's what we had to do to get it going. And now we're going to go first class. And, my hat's off to them for understanding the desire, the demand for the game, and doing something. So, yeah, very good point there. We don't want to go east-west. We don't want to shrink and have a small area, because that can be dangerous. You've got people getting hurt, and it ends up being an eyesore. When I met with the mayor and the park rec guy, I said, we want to have input. I said, if we're going to be the ones funding this, on your land. We want to have input. And he goes, to what degree? I said, we want to have input on how the courts are being used, if there's a prime time for people willing to pay to be a member. And I said, I look at it this way, we're going to be married. And I said, we might have some disagreements, but above all, we're going to serve the community. But you don't understand our culture, and you need to. And we may, dial in things. We may be in a state of evolution, but we want this to be a big deal. And he goes, right on, right on. So I hope that helps tonight. I can see your excitement.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
We-
Gary, thanks so much.
We will
Really appreciate it.
definitely have you back again, and we need experts on all these kind of things. We need different experts in every area that we are
Would you like
looking at.
these notes, or?
Yeah, that'd be
Yes,
great.
please.
I just
Yes.
made one copy. Who gets them?
Give it to Joe
Give it to Deb,
or Deb, one of the two.
the clerk.
Well, thank you. Now you got us all excited.
Well, it was fun. I'm glad we could do that. Glad it worked out.
I'm playing right now.
We had a great
Feel
night.
like going out there right now, yeah.
You too.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so disc golf bathroom is the next thing on our agenda. Joe, do you want to
Sure.
take that?
Basically, the seasonal bathrooms, I shut them down sometime in fall. No set date. Beach, it's sooner, water gets colder. Boat access, kind of tie it to when we pull the dock out. And then this year, because last year was kind of an anomaly with the warm weather, the courses got used more. I believe we had the bathrooms removed. I know we're talking snowshoeing, sledding once we get some snow established. So it's just a thought, do we want to have a bathroom there? Both locations, one location. I mean, for the snowshoeing and all that, the White Overlook Drive parking lot is the main access point. So, I mean, if that would probably make the most sense, or just leave it as we go. I just thought it would be a question the committee should discuss and give me some direction on.
Well, I think that's a really important point, and I don't know why anyone would have to go to the bathroom less when there's snowshoeing and sliding than they would if they're playing disc golf. So I think I would like to have one there. I think it would be important to have one there. Did you talk to them about keeping it all year round?
You can.
The temporary, okay.
Yeah.
Put the,
Again, they have to put de-icer
Yeah.
to clean it, but
Okay.
it can be done.
okay,
The cost, it's like an extra
That was next.
$150 a month. and
150?
Yep, that's a per bathroom, that's what we get charged, so.
So we've never done it before where we've left a bathroom out there?
We pull them in fall.
Okay.
For winter, and then, typically right around Memorial Day
Sure.
is when things come back.
Yeah, I mean, we could leave one out there and see if it gets used. Should be
Right,
kind of an
that's what I was-
experimental year.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say too, they'll be able to tell if it's.
I did talk to
Yeah, be able to
Joe.
tell.
He says the use is down, because, cleaning the bathrooms give you a good indication. He said
Mm-hmm.
in fall, things were all, not just there, all the bathroom use was tapering off, which totally makes sense. I mean, okay.
Well, I'll make,
January,
I'll make a
February, March,
motion
April,
to,
4 months.
It'd just
we
be
need-
That's like
year-round,
January to
basically.
April, so that would be adding $150, $600 for the year.
do we need a motion?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
I say
not-
one bathroom at the main lot, that White Overlook.
Would overlook
The white
parking lot.
overlook, yeah.
Yeah, and just have him let us know how much use it's getting, so we,
Yeah,
Yeah,
monitor it.
Agent.
it's something
No, too,
I remember
Absolutely.
hearing.
and temperature.
I remember hearing last year, because last year was such a warm winter, and this winter was shaping up that way, but, not right now, so. All
Well,
right, I will-
last year when it got warm early, the disc golfers were out there, so there were people out there
It
using
was-
it, and they would need a bathroom, so.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Oh,
makes sense.
Okay.
all right, Great. Old business, well, now we can get into the pickleball discussion. Anything else to add to what we just heard?
I guess listening to the presenter, some of the initial, location options, like if this is a growth thing, I think that should be taken into consideration, because the map I provided, those red plotted out lots are not the cities. So everything from North Drive over to North Spruce Drive, and you follow North Spruce Drive, that's kind of what always used to be called the city campus, essentially. That's city property inside there. There's those private property chunks, which two of those lots right next to the community garden are in the process of getting donated. But it's a process because they weren't properly transferred as people passed on and things like that. Our attorney is working on it, so that's in play. And then these little slivers are basically, they represent four courses at Cross Lake. I scaled them to this map here, and then just so you can see kind of.
So these are side-by-side courts, not two stacked and two on
It was
top?
2 courts, the
was.
space, and then 2 courts.
2 and 2 the long way.
Yep.
So if he's saying don't do it north-south,
So we made it.
No,
said
don't do it,
east-west.
don't do it east-west.
east-west, I mean, do it north-south, yeah.
Yes.
So we gotta,
So if you put the long way
yeah,
facing all the
Yep.
long
Along
maps,
11.
it would more or less, it'd more
yep,
or less be
parallel
north
to
south.
11. Okay,
So this is north, this would be north-south.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I
East.
was going to say, what's awesome about, well, you have them here, there's going to be no noise issues, I don't see any
Yeah.
houses
Great.
around there.
yep. We got the
So
car,
at the
the airport
village-
across the street, so,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I mean, like, and part of the placement deal is like, if we think 4 courts is gonna be all it is, you have more options. If you, after listening to his presentation, if you think 4 courts is a start, it really limits it, kind of in my mind, between, where it says North Pinewood Drive and Cedar Drive.
Yeah.
in
Yes.
between there, yeah,
Which unfortunately is the furthest walk to
yeah.
facilities.
And parking lots,
But at some point, I mean, you could, it's unfortunate, like that building, our cold storage and our salt sand shed, I mean, that kind of is occupying some good real
That's, I
estate
know.
down the road.
Yeah.
At some point down the road, I would not
Yeah.
be surprised if that moves, but that's bought and paid for, and it's something we gotta have. So that was kind of an area, and the topography in that area isn't terrible. It's workable. I know closer to the PSB, there's a big hole. There are a couple places closer to the main facility that would work, but I don't think it'd accommodate options, or it's out in the wide open. And like you mentioned, that wooded area, if we would keep the woods around it, that'd do everything we can to
For
help with
sound.
And there's a few homes that are not shown on this map, on North Lakeview Drive but I don't think they're, the permits are issued, and I know they're in this area, but I don't know where they're gonna be exactly. I could investigate that further, because the sound issue was something
200 feet.
200
Yeah.
feet, he said, so that's like,
I feel like if we're on the west side of Spruce,
that's the best you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that will be far.
Yeah.
And then we have to make sure we would send out notices to everyone that this is coming.
Then if we are closer to homes, we can limit the time from, say 9 in the morning till 7 at night, so it doesn't interrupt people sleeping or putting kids to bed and that type of thing.
And we're, so now I got a rough idea. Does that sound up in that area? I mean, it shouldn't drastically affect the cost estimate for our purposes where it's located, unless we did it like in the fill.
builder.
Yeah, right behind the PSB, which I don't think that's a very great spot. And they might need it down the road too, you know. At some point, there may be a bigger PSB, and it also kind of serves as a stormwater retention area.
What would be your optimum spot that you would say?
Depends if it's growing or not. If it's not growing, I would try and keep it closer to probably those lots that were donated.
Like Cedar Drive kind of area?
The two near the garden.
Yeah, but I'm
Yep,
just wondering like
Cedar
this.
Drive, somewhere, I mean, if it wasn't gonna grow, that area it would be close enough, I guess you could probably get away with the bathrooms and water for a while. But I would assume at some point in our park's growth, you know, if it grows up in that area, 2 bathrooms I think just the community garden is really gonna stretch, like, we have 2 bathrooms.
Right.
That's,
I feel like if we're going to do this, we need to plan ahead and assume that 4 is going to quickly show that we could handle 8. So I think we need to kind of consider it as looking ahead.
I
We-
agree.
We start with 4, but we have space to grow.
and, yeah, yep, no, that makes sense, and put bathrooms if the time is appropriate, you know, when the community garden folks and the pickleball players, you know, want bathrooms. It's been discussed to have year-round bathrooms.
Yeah,
It's
could there
too
even be
expensive.
bathrooms kind of where those donated lots are, so that's right between the
Between both.
garden and,
You'd have all
Possible
kinds of
pickleball.
room.
Well, I'm thinking, would it work to put it across from the red spot where the donated lots are, the first go-around? And by that time, then if they did, when that goes through, we could expand in that spot to the other 4
That would
courts?
be an option.
So that'd be like right on either side of North Pinewood Drive?
Yep, that was
I mean,
kind of
they're not
one
that-
of my
Yeah.
better locations I could see.
Keeping it tight in as close as we can and close to parking, and then
And
I
then
think
that's
we're gonna
also
get
away
those
from the
lots
homes,
for
too.
sure. And then we
It's-
could
yeah.
expand there.
Because our future parking, really, I mean, that open area to the east of the ball field is pretty much a parking lot the way it is.
Yeah,
Around our cold storage, it's kind of an eyesore because we pick up a lot of garbage from the right of ways, and, you know, a chair here, we throw it up there until we get a dump truck load. So garbage is sitting there here and there because we don't make a special trip for, you know, one item. That would be one concern I'd have is, you know, the visibility of that, and we could do things about it too. We could, you know, if we had to fence it or whatever, plant more trees, but no, that's, I just wanted a good discussion, so I have some idea. My plan will be to, get some estimates, cause I mean, really, it's a paving company, fence guys, I think the 50 Lakes used the same fencing people that did our fence for the community garden.
yep.
And painters, it's a pretty simple, as far as that goes. I will meet with Widseth to, you know, if we were to hire a grant writer, what do they need from us? Do they need a location? I'll have that discussion.
I thought maybe we could have the grant writer come to next month's meeting and tell us about what they do and how they do it, or
I'll
the month
check
after?
into it.
Okay,
Their grant writer is like, I don't think they're stationed in Baxter. They might like be in Alexandria or Fargo.
Who's this?
Widseth.
oh, Widseth. They're the one that they used at 50 Lakes, she lives in Cross Lake.
Yep, and I'd investigate both.
Yeah,
Essentially, like
but
once
just to
we.
inform us, somebody to inform us on how
Yeah,
that
but
works.
once we get, I should be able to inform you, but also like, I would expect, like, they're both gonna have to, this is what we'd like you to do, and hopefully they both give us a bid, so it's like, you know, if they're capable, so we're not just picking one.
Well, and then if Sourcewell actually reimburses you for the cost of a grant writer, then,
they can.
you know,
It,
that's how 50 Lakes got it.
and that's what we
done.
did for our boat access is, the boat access paving, we had to pay the costs up front, but the grant
They reimbursed.
reimbursed the cost when it happened. That was the last time Breezy Point used a grant writer, and that was, I think that project was 200,000 or something like that. And the city, it took us a couple of years to get it done, but we did. And, you know, that was building a road, so we had to get it engineered, and like, that's the heaviest duty road in the city, actually, because it met MnDOT spec, but it worked out just fine. It's been appreciated. So that was the intent of that. Just so this was a good discussion, so I kind of know how to form things, and hopefully by the next probably 2 meetings out, or next meeting or next 2 meetings, I'll have more information, more harder numbers, a better idea on the process of getting grant writers. I know the DNR gives grants. That's where we got our boat grant from. And
Yeah.
like the presenter said, there's clubs and there's all those sorts of things too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is just getting someone with a nonprofit organization to start getting funds, because that's what they did across Lake. They had a big group of the players, and since we don't have those established here yet, we'd have to try to find, and I think he'd be willing, and he said Dick Burns is another one contact. So that sounds encouraging, because all the things I was worried about.
I mean, to me, the most challenging part is the where and how. If the will's there, I mean, if the committee is committed to doing it,
Oh, I think we are. I'd like to see it start tomorrow. I mean,
that's
Well, and what
usually the
process-
hardest part.
What process do we need to do? Like, is
Yeah.
this a point right now that we should be
Send it-
formally going to city council and saying, hey, we are looking at pursuing this, we need your permission? Or should we wait
just
until
tell them
Joe
this is
comes
what
up?
we want, vote on it.
I think we should
Get the numbers and
put
a
the
little bit more
numbers,
firm?
like let Joe firm up the numbers, and then actually show them what our plan A and B for expansion is for future, that we're thinking ahead. And then,
Typically, we've done, in the past, you know, we had subcommittees, they're coming back. I'm not really sure how it's gonna be with, you know, Todd. Really, he's the only change in council. So it will be, and he starts office in January. So I think, you know, wait till Todd gets on board.
give them a month.
Yeah, and we're,
And then bring
Already
it,
for
and just
next year.
present about it, bring our information, and then go from there.
Well, the
And I would
budget's
just
set for
ask
next
Jerry.
year, but we still, you know, we can still look at, they have money from other places, and then getting paid back by
Yeah,
some
but
of
the
these other,
budget- The budget is set,
Yeah.
so we have to
Yeah.
work inside of that.
correct. Yeah, your budget is, you know, $50,000. I'm sure you can get a grant writer for that, I would think. For a small project, I mean, I think
Well, and some things, I think you can write grants for smaller grants too that are,
perhaps, but
like the one that you had
Those I
gotten.
can manage.
Yes,
I mean,
I know.
I've had good luck with that, so.
I will visit with Jerry. I mean, really, you know, we're in transition from, Jerry's running the things. They just agreed to a hiring firm to look for city administrators at a 3 to 6 month process. I think that's a lot of Jerry's focus right now.
I just
But,
don't want 50,000 to all be to pay for somebody to come up with a plan.
Great.
I don't think so. That
Or
would be the
write
case.
grants, I mean, that's
It-
my, yeah,
That's why I would get 2 quotes.
yeah.
well,
And
it costs
maybe our
7,000 for
manpower.
them to do the one that, they got 500 plus thousand for the project, and they got half of that
That sounds appropriate.
reimbursed. And then the 7,000 in addition reimbursed from Sourcewell. So it was 7 was the grant writer's cost, but it got covered, so.
Yeah, wouldn't
And they know what they're doing. I mean, they
Yeah.
know where to go, when to go, and they try to do it as fast and quick as they can so they can get a lot of those jobs for 7,000.
when the boat access got paved, I mean, the hardest part was getting that as the political agreement to do it. Once that was done, like the plans and specifications, that was the most expensive part. The grant writer was much.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it was 5,000 or 6,000 out of the engineering fees. It was pretty small. So, I think it'd be the best.
And do you all
So-
agree to concrete over asphalt? Concrete over asphalt?
If
pricing?
we're going to do it, I'd say we do it right, concrete, yeah, I
That's-
agree.
I just want to make sure we're not just
I agree.
assuming everyone agrees
We're
with
gonna
that.
do it.
What's the lifespan of an asphalt?
In that setting,
On the street, it can last 20 years.
it's much longer, to be honest with you.
There's no weight on it. There's no garbage truck or school bus driving on it.
There's none of that. There's not plowing.
It's
There
level,
is
so you
shoveling.
don't have
People do
wet
shovel and
spots.
play in the winter. In the
Shovel
cities,
is
people do it all the time. They're
That's a
playing
little
their
different
neighborhoods.
from our 8,000
Oh, right,
plow with belly scrapers.
because
Those cause
that's a
lot
big
of
difference
problems.
if we decide to price it one
I
way
guess
versus
I
the
would
other, that's
rather,
why.
if Eric says it's, I'm gonna lean in on what his expertise is if that's, I know a higher cost, but it's
Well, for example.
a better,
Well, we
Diane,
could just,
How old is our basketball court? Because it was here before me.
It was the same age as the playground, the original playground,
So
like 20 years.
whatever that playground was.
mid-90s, and that thing is still in good
It's
shape.
hanging in there, yeah.
It's in very good shape.
well, I guess if we price the higher one,
Price both.
we can always
Price
take
both, yeah.
25% off and know, of concrete and know that's what the
that
asphalt
concrete?
price is.
Oh, that was
So if we,
something-
if push comes to shove, we can always back
Basketball
off
court
there.
is
that way.
pavement, and then it was painted.
It's paved.
And we haven't done anything
painted.
to it since.
So that the
I've-
paint stays, okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised how durable it is. Like walking trails and things, if you don't see vehicle traffic, their lifespan generally will be longer than a paved road. But
Okay.
all sorts of things. I mean, you can do concrete, do it poorly, like he mentioned,
Right.
and you can do asphalt well, and it's a superior surface. You just gotta be careful. I don't see either one. I mean, if we make our decision when we need to make the decision.
I say we
We
put
don't
in the
have
biggest
to-
amount possible and then
Yep.
they
Let's
say
move
cut
on
it
to-
back and then
Yep.
we find ways within that.
Yeah, that answers what I need to know for the meeting.
Parks signs?
That was old business from the last meeting. It was that sign survey I did just to, I presented it, let everyone look at it, kind of show where we're at, what other communities are at. I know the council kind of directed us to kind of ambiguously look at signage, but not real clear on direction, so I don't really know where to go. I mean, the one thing I did notice from the sign survey, it seems like a lot of places like to have, similar to our kiosk in that parking lot. One of those, we built that. That's pretty affordable. We can do that, and then you have, glass with stuff behind it.
Yep.
That could be done for us very reasonably priced. To get some of those fancier, the plastic or fancier signage, that's where you, like the drawn in, like the Mission Park, the sanded wood, like they look very nice, but they are also and we have some of those in our city, and we've priced them out a couple times. They're significant. If that's something the council or the committee would like me to look into further, and also, having these aerial maps that show
Nice.
trails, disc golf course layout, if the snowshoeing, sliding hill, we could improve on some of that stuff. And do you want to look at some of that stuff? Because I don't have,
Is the kiosk over there now?
We did, yes.
So like getting the sliding symbol and the skiing symbol just in the kiosk so they know that's a starting point. And then we need a map eventually, which we're still working on, but
Yeah. If there's interest,
we can just print something like that and put it inside the glass right now for winter, this winter.
you know, because I will gather some prices to do some freshening up on mapping because I think we did our final changes to the course. I don't see the layout changing. We could update, the winter trail, walking trail sign. And then if we'd want to do more kiosks, I mean, that'd be a pretty cost-effective way to do it. Or if you want, fancier, like some of the other options in there. It's just something to think about, like,
Can I just make a comment, Gail?
Yes.
One thing I do like about Nisswas is they have those 3 trees. They have different signs, but those 3 trees carry on.
Consistent.
It's kind of like stands for that. I like that idea where we have something that says Breezy Point.
that's their city logo.
That's their logo. So
Just like
Yep.
that was on my shirt.
It's a variation on each one, and yet it's consistent through. Their water is different. This one's got like the circle around it, but they carry through with those 3 trees. And I really like that idea of having like their stamp of ownership on stuff.
And I like our logo. I think it should be on every,
Yeah.
I do too. That's
Our
why I want
logo,
it to be
definitely.
used, so we don't.
And it blends with,
Leave it
what we
out.
already have, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important, and it's funny how almost all of them look the same. They all have some trees and water, so, like between Cross Lake, Nisswa, and Breezy, you really don't know what city you're in unless you read the fine print, but they do all kind of look similar.
Well,
They
that's what
all
we are.
really got city staff at about the same time.
Yep. So we're gonna be working on the garden sign, and we're gonna, maybe that would like be the first
That-
thing
that-
that we would,
The garden little rule sign, I'm gonna try and get someone to make a demo of that for the next meeting. I didn't get to it. And we'll just have to have the signage as a ongoing thing, because it's
yep,
to do it right, like, I'm not gonna have it right first crack. And it'll probably take me longer, but these 2 items will be plenty for this year.
well, those 2 little ones, but we're gonna also have like a wooden one with this logo on it, and then say community garden, by the gates. So we're working on that, and, gonna tie that into the park and rec area 1, 2, we hope. That can be in the parking lot. So,
Yeah.
that parking lot's been without for a while. Okay, so signage, anybody else, anything? Okay. Garden update,
The garden update, I just put the budget as it stood. The estimated total, 50,000. Actual costs up to this point, almost 40,000. You subtract boot grants and stuff like that, so we're at like 36,000. Yeah.
yep, it's in the packet. Very back, yep. So that's wonderful.
And then where it shows estimated quantities, and then I put actual, like those are changes. That's why the costs changed. I mean, the fencing, it went from 6-foot
Yeah.
estimate to the actual's 8-foot. We put more gates. We modified the design a little bit, but I think it worked well. Everything else though was, close to budget or thereabouts. AOS Tree Service donated a ton of wood chips for us. That's huge. So that project, actually, the guys did a great job, Neil, and we had a few things not work as planned, so it took longer than we wanted, but it went really well. We're at the point where we just got to finish. We got to put the plot markers, sprinklers, hook it up to water, tool racks and benches, and we have all those, pretty much all those things are pretty much purchased, so there's not much more coming for a cost. So I think our goal of staying under $40,000 we should be
Nice.
right there.
Yeah.
And it,
Fantastic.
you
It
know,
looks amazing, by the way.
It does.
It looks better than I could have ever dreamt.
Yeah,
So
it-
excited. It's,
and
it's Garden
also on
Mahal.
the community garden update, the reservation process should be ready. I just talked to Widseth today to update the map to show the actual layout now, because we widened the path. And then I also had them change the number layout
Okay,
for the big plot, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of
oh,
1 and
Okay.
then 19. I just thought that made more sense. And then, we should be ready for that.
so when will they have that, do you know?
The map, probably next week it'll be done.
Can that go right onto the website so people can see, like if they want to, where their plot number is and all?
Yep.
Okay.
Now that we got the final changes in it, now that, because Neil, we changed our layout here and there, but nope, I don't see the map changing from here on, so it'll be good. And then as far as staff reports, that's it. I don't have a lot after that.
Will the guidelines be put on the website this month before, and the application before January 2nd?
I hope to have time in the next week, if
Okay.
not by the end of the month, to work on website in general. I got a lot to get on there for 2025 in general for everything with the city. So got to create an area for community garden stuff and how we'll track that and do that. So.
I mean, it's on there, I mean, there is a spot for
But
it,
the
but,
application and the
Yeah.
guidelines and information in general, so.
perfect.
Wish me luck. And then staff report wise, Jim McKellar did give his resignation
Oh,
effective today. So
Wow.
he is not going to participate. He had his reasons, but he felt he hadn't been here enough this year and wanted somebody that could give their all to the Parks Committee. So he did email me this afternoon and told me that.
I had spoken with him, and he's had some personal things he's had to deal with, and work travel, and so I told him he would be, if he did decide, that he would be welcome to come back when he felt his, everything was back in
It's
line for him.
understandable.
So,
It's understandable, and we're all
Yeah.
human, so
yep.
family first.
So we do have 2 applications in right now. So I suppose, wait for the new, do we wait for the new, or do we ask the mayor to start interviewing those 2?
It's, well, traditionally, whenever spots open, if terms are expiring, you take them and they go to the mayor. And the mayor handles them however they want. If they want to do interviews, if they want to select people.
So do we wanna-
I haven't talked to Todd.
Do we want to forward it to Angel now, or wait for Todd?
Todd.
Todd,
Yeah.
okay.
That's when the
Yes.
terms expire.
Yeah. Yeah.
The terms
Oh, when the
expire.
terms
First of the year.
Yes.
Although, Gail, actually, there's a minimum number, not, we could be fine without ever filling
Right.
it.
Right.
We don't necessarily need to fill it.
Well, that was the other piece I was wondering, do we ever want to go back? I mean,
Right.
here's 5 of us here. Do we go back to 5 or have one that, I don't know.
I feel like it's been good because we have had people missing, so we've been able to continue to do business. And as long as we have interested people who bring different backgrounds and strengths to the committee, I think it's good to have. If we can get 7 and keep 7, I think we should keep 7.
Okay.
That's my opinion anyway.
We actually had our old administrator come to coffee, because this is the last week that this room is in this configuration, and our discussion actually was park committee size. And Joe Rudberg, before
Yep.
Patrick, he said the committee was 7 members and they couldn't fill it, so then they went down.
Yep.
Totally normal. He's, in his opinion.
See it go up and down.
Yep.
So as long as we have people
Yeah.
that want the position, we have 2 right now that have applied that, as far as I know, there might be more.
Are
I don't
these
know.
new applications or the old hangover ones from way back?
I think they're relatively new.
And I resubmitted,
And I resubmitted
yeah,
mine too.
so they're not open necessarily, I mean, they are, but,
Jim's will be.
yeah, gyms will be.
For next year? Okay.
And, yeah, it'd be last discussion I had with Jerry is Todd's already working on committees.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in on Monday, he's looking at planning, getting the subcommittees back for council, personnel and all those sorts of things. So I'll pass that information along to Jerry and we'll let you know.
Well, on that note, I'd like to thank Jim McKellar for his time and his input. I think it was very valuable for the committee, and sad to see him go. A couple other things for committee member reports. We should have a grand opening for the garden. We should also have a grand opening for the disc golf course in the spring. So the garden committee can pretty much handle that garden one and then forward to us, you know, what they're thinking. And they're going to start working on that tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And it's like a social, you know, just a nice social event that we can get the community together and celebrate something. So I think any chance we get that we can, you know,
When we
All
built the
these wonderful
first
things.
disc golf, we did something, and we literally had just like some cookies and lemonade. I mean, it was very
Yeah.
simple, but it was a nice
for
celebration.
the
and a
first one? Yep, the first course. Okay.
Yeah.
Our first
Yeah,
one.
I mean, just something.
You remember that? Huh?
We ended up with a lot of cookies left.
We did take a lot of cookies back, but, I mean, hopefully we can do a better job of,
Well, it's a big,
but
you know,
if we
it's a
can
much
look
bigger
to
deal.
have a little bit of a budget, I mean, it was probably less than $100, you
Right.
know, to get something like that. And
And it's right.
At
it's
each of
good to
those.
celebrate those.
Yeah, so if anyone has ideas, just start thinking about those things, and we can talk about that. And I think that should be on the next agenda.
Now we have a golf group.
And then we have to look at a motion next month or in February to accept the plan that was presented for sponsors. We kind of left that hanging, sponsorships for the holes. And we accepted it in August, and we just haven't moved forward with that because it didn't need to be dealt with, but now we're coming up on it, and we need to start thinking about that if we want to have them go out and get sponsors for the holes and get money for it.
I thought he already had sponsors. He said he's had them lined up for years.
If they were, it wasn't guaranteed, and I guess it still isn't, that the disc golf course is going to even be there. So no one's going to go out and get sponsors if it's not going to be there. So there's a list of people in mind, but it hasn't formally been put through because it was up in the air.
so is that maybe something first of the year as
That's what I'm
well?
saying.
We
That should be on
we
our
get that
agenda, and I
open
just
and-
noticed, I went back through notes of things we hadn't finished up on, so
Yeah.
just getting that on our agenda, looking
Put it on our
forward.
radar.
Okay. And we already, you know, accepted that plan, but we just need to move that forward to
Yeah.
the council then, and we were talking about making some rules around what kind of sponsors. We
Gail,
need to talk
I
about
believe the council already accepted that proposal in
For sponsors?
September.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. We were supposed to set some rules for the parameters of what kind of,
We can still do that
Yeah.
add-on and.
okay,
It
well,
came out
that's
of
good.
nowhere. It just, if I
Awesome.
remember right, it was in that September meeting, there was a bunch of things that just popped in there, and I believe
Oh,
that was
good.
part of it. I'll let you know.
Well, great,
Doing great.
fantastic. Okay, well, that's all I had. Anybody else have anything on committee reports? If there's nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. And we're out.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. And have a happy holidays, everybody.
Ew.